Is y'all? This is the video track list for the show that was recorded and broadcast live on Wednesday, 25th of February 2025. And it was entitled Mid-1992 Old School Hardcore. Now, it mostly is a little bit mid-hardcore. There's a little bit early and a little bit late. The inspiration behind this was I just uploaded the DJ Ratty and DJ Robbie sets from Red October 92, which, was obviously a little bit later. But I just love the kind of fun sound of that hardcore in that era. There's such great energy, still great pianos. There's a few kind of sort of darker bits in there. So, that was my inspiration for this show. So let's get stuck into the records. So this first one is DJ Royalty and DJ XL, Fantasy in Motion. Now this one, so my other inspiration was to kind of, again with these shows, is to pull records that I don't really play that often. And I'm definitely guilty of this one. I had, in my head, really kind of judged this as, it's a bit cheesy. I won't bother kind of playing that. But actually pulled it out and played it. I was like, okay, yeah, there's a couple of absolute crackers on there. So lesson learned for me, stop being such a little judgy bugger. So that was kicked off. Then I played the Fantasy and Gemini. It was the Hippodrome remix. Now this one is a remix. The Everybody's Under the Influence remix is a wicked remix as well. So I think that was a repress. I know these came out through Vinyl Fanatics. So big up Brent, out to Mr. Steve. Fantasy. Next on to Urban Shakedown. This was Do It Now. I've got to be honest, I wasn't a kind of massive fan of that record, but actually it's kind of grown on me over the years. It's a great fun one to mix. So again, that's kind of sort of back in my back in the rotation, that one. This is another one. I've actually tagged this as Ratty because this is one that he played. So Jumping and Pumping, obviously a label chucked out loads of releases back in the day. So Dominate, a great little vocal on this one by Flag. Don't really know of any kind of other tracks they did. They probably did, but there was a lot of kind of sort of one release artists that were back in the day. A lot of the time it was just the same artist, just using a bunch of different names. Foul Play Volume 2, this one was on Oblivion Records. Such a great release, this one. I love that. The dubbing again, was so different. Probably should have played that one, really. But anyway, I played Survival, which was the most common one on here, as long as Feel the Vibe. So out to all the Foul Play guys, big up yourselves. You made some absolute corkers back in the day. And this was definitely one of their earliest releases, if not their second, right? So then we move on to M-Beat and Rink Records. This one, Let's Pop an E. So the other inspiration for this, which is a set that I'm going to put up in the next week or so, is DJ Randall 92 from AWOL with GQ. And there was a few sets, but there's one absolute standout. I think this was actually played on the flip by Mickey Finn with MC Prince. I always love these kind of releases because it's nice to get a few versions so you can kind of really hone in on one that you really, really like. Devious D, Drive You Crazy, of course, awesome records, Time of Our Lives. Both of these were really good. This one, again, a really fun one to mix. And it's just got some really kind of raw drums in there. I noticed that I say raw a lot. I'm definitely very obsessed with raw sounding breaks. That's for sure. Another great label from back in the day, Rising High Records. This one was Do It Ya. And which side was that on? I can't remember. It must have been this side. So this was Dark Syndicate. Again, I don't really know if these guys really did many other releases. But that was a cracking EP, that one. There's a couple of great tracks that are on there. Then Bad Influence, Sudden Impact. This one does go for a pretty penny. I think I managed to get this. This was off some records that someone gave me years ago. So I was well happy to kind of get that one. So IQ Records, then Sub Love. Out to Jody Wisternoff. Just produced some phenomenal EPs back in the day, and amazing to see that he's still kind of going strong and playing out. Of course, Jody Wisternoff was one half of Way Out West with Nick. Oh God, I can hear you all saying his name. No, it's completely gone. So this was on Earth Records. So I played Skank Mission. But to be honest, you could pick any four of those. Hyperactive is another absolutely corker. By the way, you see I've kind of put these stickers on here. I really regret doing that. I've actually started taking them off. I did them putting the key and the BPM on them, but actually I'm just going to leave them on the sleeve because I don't really want to, you know, mess the records up. But I've noticed that when I take them off, I then have to spend like half an hour scrubbing them with my super expensive aftershave to get all the goo off. But there you go, lesson learned there. Oh, 2 lessons. I wonder if there'll be a third by the end of this video. 92 Retro, so out to the elusive, big up yourself, mate. This was a release Spirit of the Space remix EP. So I played Drifting, I think it was the Interface remix. God, you know, I do these within 12 hours of the show because I'm like, I don't want to forget which ones I've played. But again, there you go, there's your third lesson. Do this bloody video straight after. Now, this is a new for me. So Full Effect Recordings, this is Nick Ball, Emotion EP. So again, there's a couple of tracks that he did, but crazy. So this one was played by Robbie on that Red October Ratty tape, an absolute cracker. I'm so surprised that, I mean, I personally haven't heard that tune on any other tape. I've heard a lot of tapes from 92. I'm not saying it hasn't, I'm sure it has, but after listening to it, you know, it's got that famous "I know you follow me," that vocal on there with some great piano, really fun track, loads of great breaks in it. So yeah, I'm going to be on a bit of a mission to see if I can find more mixes on that one. Time to Kick. So this was I think this is the Mad Ragga John. Don't try and infuse all 3 words into one. Actually, so apologies. This was Time to Kick. So this is on the B side, this one. So again, this was the kind of digging in for those lost gems and forgotten B-sides. Now, this is super fast. I think this is like, I didn't actually write the BPM, but I think this is touching sort of 155, 160, because I had to play this at like -4 on that one. Hilltop Records, big up. Now, this is another new purchase for me because I am on a mission to buy every single record that Ratty played on that Red October set, but because the Rob E set on the flip of the cassette, which was a green cassette, which I lost annoyingly because it was in my old Ford Fiesta many years ago and I sold it with the bloody cassette in it. Been trying to find it to buy it and cannot find it anywhere. If anyone's got a copy of DJ Ratty and Robbie Red October, the green tape, and they want to sell it, then please do let me know. So Tronics, this was the Good and Strong, which samples, of course, Prodigy Your Love. Just such a great use of that sample, works really, really well. If you want to grab yourself a copy, get your wallet out because it is not cheap. 92 Retro once again with another phenomenal repress. This is, of course, DJ Smokey Joe, Crime Watch project, A Kiss My Neck. Another great song, so much fun to kind of mix, and just that really, really kind of anthemic style piano. Manix 4-tracker. This is the remix EP of Rainbow People. Now, I can't remember if it's the original, but I bought a version of this about 2 years ago, which was, and I can't find it on Discogs, but it is the clear one with the rainbow colour, but it was the limited one that had the gold speckles in it as well. If I remember rightly, I think I paid about £100 for it. New, like it wasn't, you know, this wasn't off Discogs. It was a brand new one. Maybe I should go back because I haven't actually looked there for a while. But anyway, Hardcore Jungleism was the track that I played, the exclusive remix. But this whole Rainbow People EP, this one, the remix and the original. In fact, you know what I'm saying. Anything on Reinforced, Manic 4 Hero, they almost always did like 4 trackers, and you could literally just blind pick this out and just slap any track on and it will do the business. More repress action, this time from Stuart J via Vinyl Fanatics. So this was the Gadget EP, Take Me to Your Leader. Such a great song, this one was absolutely smashed back in the day. Then we've got Brain Records. I actually went Brain Records back to back on this one. So this is CBiz, Crowd Says Rewind, the original one. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but there is a nasty crack. Is it this one or is it another one? No, I'm sure it is this one. But it's kind of sort of split in 3 places, so I've got to replace it. But I actually played the flip side, So Good, which was on this side. And I do believe the crack. Am I imagining this? No, it's there somewhere. Anyway, played So Good. Super fast track. This is interesting, right? I find this interesting anyway. There's a nerdy side of me. Crowd Says Rewind was 145 BPM. And on the same PEP, obviously at the same time, So Good was 157. Like, that's mad. Then moved on to Brain Records. This time, Red Alert and Pepsi, the Slammer EP. Both Slammer 1 and Slammer 2. They're just phenomenal tracks. Interestingly, again, look, there you go. One's 143, another one's 155. I discussed this actually at length with Pete Cannon, and he was saying that, you know, they did this on 4 8-bit channels, and he said you can really hear that sort of kind of compressed, kind of crunchy sound of it, which is kind of part of the beauty of it. Because I remember talking to him saying, like, I just can't find a digital version of this anywhere that sounds good, and he's like, you won't. I wonder if they'd ever be interested in rebuilding those. Who knows? Mayhem, yes. Basement Records, big up. This one, Damage, just does the damage every time. Again, a super fun one to mix. Common theme with all the tracks that I play. I do enjoy a track with a good intro to have a bit of fun with mixing. Then Chaotic Chemistry, the LSD EP. Of course, this was a pseudonym of Two Bad Mice. So out to Sean, out to Si, big up chaps, hope you're good. This was the League of Spiritual Discovery. And I played, I'm pretty sure it's LSD. Again, such a fun track to mix because it's just got that beep, 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 beep. And it's pretty easy to keep in time, or easier, especially with some of these tracks. They're all made in MIDI, so the time signature can fluctuate a little bit. That's why when you start mixing it, you cannot let it go. You've got to be on it. Dance City Records. This is an old mate of mine, Dylan Rhymes. Marvin Beaver is his real name, but I knew him as Dylan Rhymes from the breakbeat scene. He was making really great breaks tracks alongside people like Force Mass Motion and those guys. And I only found out like 5 years ago that Dance City Records was his and that he was making most of the tracks on there. So, Can I Share My House With You? I don't think there's an actual official name for it, hence the question mark that's on there. I remember this and was kind of made aware of it when Seduction played this on New Year's Eve. Fantasia Takes You into 93. DJ B and EZM, Shocking to the Break of Dawn. Love this one because it's such a roughneck tune. This is actually a 2004 repress. And just, you know what, just it's got some of the kind of classic sort of 91 sounds in it. But I didn't actually play the full breakdown. I should have done, but as you know, I'm pretty impatient. I like to mix tracks quite quickly, but it's actually quite an epic, really building track. But you know, like most of the kind of records that were back in the day, you know, they were mixed out quite quickly. So whenever I've heard this on a mixtape, I don't think I'd ever heard much of that breakdown. So yeah, I'm sorry that you didn't get to hear it properly either. Doc Scott, NHS EP Volume 2. So I played this one. Obviously NHS absolutely smashed back in the day, and still smashed today, if I'm honest. Absolute 2. So out to Simon Baseline Smith. This was his label. Big up yourself, mate. There's some absolute crackers on your label. So this was NHS. This is the Groove Rider Internati remix. Now, I may be mistaken, but this is the first time I've ever seen, you know, Groove Rider using that Internati as part of the kind of sort of phrasing for names of tracks or remixes. And then bizarrely on the other side was the Rider, which was the Nookie remix. So I really enjoyed that kind of NHS remix because it's very different. It's got a real sort of stomping 4/4 in it. He's done a really great job of kind of mashing up the sounds that are in there. So yeah, I think I was really good in remix. I enjoyed that. So then we go on to Noise Factory. I kind of say this, and I do think it's true. I feel that Noise Factory is massively underrated. He just did some phenomenal, groundbreaking tracks. They were always so intricate, always so fun, always so boundary pushing. You know, he was really kind of experimenting with BPMs. You know, I think the Breakage EP was kind of up to like 172 by the end of like 92. But I played Mr. Sulu. Great little sample of Star Trek. But again, you could just play any of his tracks really and have a lot of fun with it. Street Violence, there was actually no name for this track. This took me ages to find this one. The release is actually called DJ Fantasy's Mate, Volume 1 or Volume 2. I think it was Volume 1. It's got that sample, Gunshot Wound to the Head, Street Violence at an all-time high. Great track. Again, super fun to mix. I really enjoy playing this one. And I'm glad I found it. So big up Steve, aka Fantasies, mate, whoever you are. Satin Storm, Think I'm Going Out of My Head, and What You Do. So I think this is an original pressing on this one. So these are really, this was the kind of Nicholas Parsons track. Nicholas Parsons. So just a good track. Like, just, it was quite different to what was out at the time. And What You Do is also a really good track. Like, I love both of them. There's quite a similar vibe going on to what they're doing with the kind of beats and bass line, but there's a kind of good musical element to it that really sort of makes it stand out around that era. Mannix, another 4-tracker. I played You Held My Hand, but again, you could just pick any one of those. They're all, this particular EP, I think, really delved into that kind of musical side of it. The sampling was really well done, as it always is from sort of Mannix and For Hero, but there was just real emotion and warmth to it, but you still had like a real dance floor, you know, focus on that. So if you've not got that EP, just buy it. Just buy it. Now, obviously we were digging deep, but Ace and Trip to the Moon Part 1 and Part 2 isn't digging deep. They're massive tunes. They got absolutely hammered. But these were the dub plate mixes. They actually came out in 2021. I put 21 repress, but actually they never came out before. So I think these were the versions. I need to check with Ace, and actually, I think these were the versions that were used for like live PAs. So there's Trip to the Moon Part 1, the dub plate mix, and Trip to the Moon Part 2, the dub plate remix. So I don't know if there's any copies of this left, but if there are, you will find them on nightforcerevolution.com. Then back to Basement Records again. Now, what's interesting is that this one always stands out for me because it didn't have the black label and the right writing that you really kind of associate with Basement Records. So out to obviously Ron Wells, aka Jack Smooth, Absolute Don, aka Rush Till Dawn, Hedgehog Affair. I remember speaking to him in the interview that I did with him, and if you've not listened to this interview, go out onto YouTube, or it's on like Spotify and other software platforms. It was 2 interviews I did because he's got such phenomenal stories to tell. But I was like, you know, my OCD on trying to catalogue these. Is it Rush Till Dawn or is it Hedgehog Affair? Like, what is it? Because I don't think he really kind of knew. He's like, back then we just kind of called stuff. We didn't really care. We just basically wanted to get the music out there. But anyway, this is the 10th release from Basement Records. Don't Just Stand There. Cracking little 4-tracker, that one, as you'd expect from Sir Ron Wells. Ajax Project Mac 3. And I've got a bunch of these records with Rough Cut written on them, but that was actually a mate of mine used to work with many years ago. He had a bag of records from another mate. He's like, do you want them? I was like, yes, please. And obviously it was DJ Rough Cut. So out to you, DJ Rough Cut. These are still serving me very well indeed. So Ajax Project Mac 3. For some reason, I always thought kind of Goldie was involved in these, but there's a guy out in the Nordics, I believe, who had done all the tracks. And I don't know if you know, but he re-released these sometime in 2024. I can't remember if there were vinyl versions, but he did all the digitals to those as well. So there's some really well-known ones that he did. Obviously, he sampled like Phil Collins, Somewhere Down the Road. But that is just such a heavyweight EP. Like, again, like Egyptian Empire, Horn Track, it just, and any of the stuff that kind of Dave Charlesworth was doing, it was super heavy, like really kind of went for it. Big bass lines, big raucous breaks in there. So go and hunt that one down. Now, this is an interesting one. I remember having this one, I'm sure, a while ago. Now, I don't know. I think this was kind of a press that was a bit of a mistake, or they'd kind of done something wrong, or whether it was kind of hard to find, or Dance Music Finder doing their usual chop shop stuff. But there's Noise Factory, The Fire, and Skin Teeth, Jungle House Crew, King of the Jungle, Cool Hand Flex, Lock Me Up, and Noise Factory, Behold the Jungle. So there's a kind of a mixture of like third party production house and Cool Hand Flex on there. Anyway, by the by, so I played the Cool Hand Flex Lock Me Up. Such a wicked vocal on that really strong vocal, and again the beat structure on that was actually kind of quite different and really stood out for me. So big up Cool Hand Flex on that one. FBD project, originally called FBD, which stood for Funded by Drugs, and then was later changed to, oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, it moved away from that. This is Bangin' Tunes number 1. This is the first release the FBD project and Bangin' Tunes put out. So it was called originally Let's Do It, and then was renamed to FBD, or it was originally called FBD and then renamed to Let's Do It because it's got the vocal sample saying Let's Do It, and then blasted on there. So again, this was quite different for what was going on. It was definitely what you would consider like a roller in nowadays terms. It just, you know, had a really nice kind of sort of simplish break, super heavyweight bass line, and just kind of rolled and just, yeah, just big tunes. Anyway, if you're not following either Neil Tricks, I don't think Bangin' Tunes have got socials, but follow Neil Tricks, because there is an absolute cracking double Bangin' Tunes release that is going to be coming out in April, I believe, for the run out. So that includes like a Pete Cannon remix, Nookie remix, Vinyl Junkie and Sanction remix, and let me tell you, it is an absolutely phenomenal tracker. And he's done like a gatefold with a little pop-up. He's got like air fresheners in there. There's all kinds of like mad gizmos he's got going on. If you know Neil, and I've got to know Neil very well over the last kind of 7 or 8 years or so, he's a very creative soul and there's some mad ideas. So big up Neil. New Soundboy Sellout. So this one was, again, you know, my OCD kind of putting the digital in this is that the artist's name? Jay Higgs, Jay Emery, and I Clifton, which is Ian Clifton. I was like, come on, they must have had an actual name together, but they didn't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. New Soundboy is the one that gets played a lot, and Sellout, you know, did get played. But it was a bit of a hidden gem for me personally, because I always used to go, you know, straight for New Soundboy. So great little piano in that one. So, and some real super tough beats. Gyroscope Records, this one, you know, produced some absolute slammers over the course of those early 90s. So Known Chic, a 2-2, yes. So this one was the OD mix. Now, I got this as an inspiration. I believe it was the first track that Mickey Finn played on that 92 AWOL tape with MC Prince. So again, that will probably be my next tape that I go all crazy in and start buying every record from. Belgium Calling, again, out to Rough Cut. Thank you very much. So this is Generator. This was probably a little bit more early 92. Because I had to pitch the living daylights out of this to kind of get it in there. But just such a phenomenal, proper like kind of, well, Belgium Calling, what a perfect name for it. It's got that kind of Belgian, you know, R&S records type sound to it. Proper hardcore business. Nasty Habits, of course, it is Doc Scott, and I played Mayday Mayday. Again, it's mad to think that Here Come the Drums actually came out in 92. You know, it was hammered in 93, and the remix, you know, kind of kept it in DJ's playlist. But all four of these were really forward thinking for that time. No one really was doing anything like this. And this is why, you know, Doc Scott deserves a massive kind of big up, because as well as the NHS EP really put him on the map, he really was a phenomenal producer that really kind of pushed the boundaries and became, you know, certainly part of the blueprint of kind of Dark Side, and then of course onto China Jungle and drum and bass. So big up Scott, mate, each and every time. Rough Beats, this one was a repress. So Fantasy and Gemini Rough Beats. Now this is interesting because I got this as a repress in 2001 and had the original 92 mix on there, but they actually did a breakbeat mix. So, you know, I kind of cut my sort of DJing professional teeth in the breakbeat scene from around sort of 99 onwards. And I love playing this because obviously it was great to have an official remix, not just a bootleg of someone's track from back in the day. So once again, big up at Steve and Gemini once again. Sorry if you can hear the Hoover in the background. Someone's going crazy right outside the door. Crispy Crouton. So this one was a series of different flavours and foods. There was the beef and tomato one. This is chicken and sweet corn, the original mix. So this was a repress in 2017. There you go. I knew I'd write it down. There's a reason why I've got all this nerdy stuff written everywhere. DJ Tango did a drum and bass remix back in 2017. R.I.P. Tango, mate. Always remembered, mate. And this was kind of still fingers the heritage label that came out to kind of repress some of these tracks. An absolute favourite. Used to hear this on loads of LSD tapes from around the 92 era. Now, you want to talk about darkness? If we want to talk about darkness, we need to go to the edge of darkness. Dave Charlesworth and S. McCarthy. So S. McCarthy actually was involved in quite a lot of other tracks as well. So, you know, when you do your kind of Discogs hunting, you'll see either of these guys, especially McCarthy, you can follow them through a bunch of tracks that are just like, wow, didn't realise you did that. But Dave Charlesworth, you know, super hats off to him. As far as I'm aware, you know, made his name through the Energizer series, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And that was a release of records that was just a mashup of other records, which doesn't sound that difficult or necessarily that impressive today. But if you think that he was doing this back in the day where it was all analog, sample time was super short, it's actually mind-blowing how impressive it is that he pulled together these records. And a great way to get his name on the map. Started up the label ADR, and of course Edge of Darkness come together. You know, that vocal and those. Now, when I talk about raw drums, this is like the epitome of raw drums. I love what he does with his records. It just feels like everything gets chucked in there. It's a bit loose, and like the drop just comes in out of nowhere. But that's what I love about it. It's just such a powerful track. And the bass line, So this one, there's two. I played the Sign from Space remix, but the other side, I really like this one because it's got a bit of a 4/4 banging element to it. So this one again was touching sort of 160 as far as kind of BPM, so coming toward the end of 92. Then the last track, which is the one that's an absolute nightmare to mix, Naz, aka Naz, the Started Again EP. So this one wasn't Started Again, it was just the original one. It took me a couple of tracks to kind of get this right because there were a variety of different mixes, but it's interesting, you hear this when it gets played on tapes. I remember a Ray Keith tape from Astoria, Ratty played it, like almost everyone just drops it from the top because it's got that really recognisable vocal, but then the structure of it is a little bit kind of wee. So yeah, it does indeed need to be, well, expertly mixed or just chopped in from the top. So thanks very much for your time. So that was all the tracks that I played on the show yesterday, the mid-1992 old school hardcore. Thanks very much for listening. Stick a little comment down below, and please remember to like, subscribe, ring notification bells, blah, 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 all that jazz.